What's up, boys and girls? It's your boy back with another reaction. I will be reacting to creepy stories by subscribers based on true events 10. I think this is from Unit, is it 522? Yeah, I think it's 522. I keep getting it mixed because when I was in the military, it was a unit that was right next to mine that we called the 552nd, and it was a maintenance unit. They did maintenance for like aircrafts and stuff like that. And I always think it's his unit 552nd. I was like, is it 52? I want to say it's 522, but yeah, this came up recommended for me the other day, so I was like, I guess I'll react to it. So, it's like 15 minutes. Oh, no, 16 minutes almost. 15 minutes, 52 seconds. So let's just get into this. Here. Okay, unit 522. Or 522. 522 sounds a little more sinister. Like unit 522.
So I'm a bit weird in the sense that I have a driver's license, but I do not own a car. It's not because I have a DUI on my record, or because I can't afford one. It's because I've never felt the inclination to buy a car. With public transportation so widespread in my city, I've never felt the need to own one. And to be honest, I hate driving in my city. There's just too many crazy people on the road, to where I'm content walking and taking public transit. However, what I did in 2016 made no sense. I moved into a home where there was no public transportation nearby. As a young college graduate, who was a pretty in-shape male, I had always made it a point to rent out rooms that were close to public transit, but I had rented out my previous apartment through Craigslist, with a very filthy roommate. It was so gross that I jumped to move at the first place I could find. In my mind, having no public transportation was okay, because I have 2 feet. Who needs a bus?
Just buy
a
bike.
The closest bus stop was the metro station a mile away. There were other bus stops that were closer, but none of the routes would take me anywhere I needed to go. So I walked everywhere. At least I was getting my cardio in. Am I right?
It was very
Let me just mention, I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, so it can get pretty cold and dark in the winter.
Salt Lake City has good
and just my luck, winter was coming. And also, I had to be at work at my law firm at 7 a.m., so that meant I had to wake up at 5 a.m., shower, and then walk all the way to the metro station just to make it to work on time. Yeah, I was pretty much regretting moving into this place. It wasn't even cheap. I was paying about $600 a month. I guess I was really desperate to get out of that dirty apartment I was renting with that guy from Craigslist.
Cheap.
I could do an entire story on the horrible roommates I've found through Craigslist, but that's a story for another time. Anyways, because it was cold outside, I would have to find faster routes to get to the station. I lived in a residential area, so I found that if I walked straight through the 6 blocks of neighborhood and cut through a Costco parking lot that was close by, I would get to the train station a lot faster than if I just followed the sidewalk the entire way. As I was jogging to the train station, wearing shoes, slacks, with a white button-up shirt and a tie for work, I approached the hill that is situated next to the Costco. As I'm jogging down the hill, I see a dark figure standing by the side entrance of the Costco, where the loading docks are. I figured he was just an employee of the store, since who else would be out there so early in the morning? I walked by him and nodded my head.
"Hey, you have any smokes?"
the man asked.
Sound like you need to stop.
I replied, "No, I don't smoke. Sorry." And then, without any warning, the man growls at me.
"Why, you little..."
And then he charged at me. It was the most random and terrifying moment of my life. Tired and confused, I moved away from him quickly as he lunged at me, taking swings as he did so. "Hey, stop!" I stammered. It was clear to me that there was something seriously wrong with this man, and so I ran for my life. The man chased after me behind the Costco.
Anger issue.
I'm not sure why I didn't try to fight back. Maybe it was because this happened so fast or because I was so tired. I couldn't say.
Probably both.
At that moment, all I knew that there was a lunatic who wanted me dead for not giving him cigarettes, which I
Could
didn't
have a knife.
And then a miracle happened. There was an employee pushing a cart into the back of the store. Knowing that this was going to be potentially awkward, I ran into the employee entrance and quickly told the man that I needed help. The unhinged lunatic stopped about 10 feet behind me and then stared daggers at me. He then slowly turned away. That employee may have very well saved my life that morning. As I stood in the back room of the Costco and waited for the police to arrive, another employee came in from the parking lot and grumbled that there was a strange man asking for cigarettes. My heart stopped. The man was still out there. However, on the flip side, the police would be able to apprehend him. Or so I thought. About 10 minutes later, the police showed up, but the man had vanished. And because I had been attacked so quickly, and the fact that it was dark, I couldn't offer an accurate description of the man. The police had apprehended 2 different men who matched the description I gave. But since I couldn't be entirely accurate, they had to let them go, as I didn't want the wrong guy to get arrested. Shortly after that encounter, I moved to a place that was closer to public transit, and I've made it a point never to walk through parking lots in the dark, or really not to walk in the dark at all.
So you
If
get on
there
a
is
bus
anything
with
to
a
gain
crazy.
from my experience, it's that sometimes the longer way is the safer way.
This is my dad's story from around 35 years ago. I'll tell it from his perspective exactly as it was told to me. I grew up on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, and when I was younger, my friends and I went camping pretty often. When I was about 18, my friends and I decided one weekend to go camping near a lake called Small Fry, as it's not too far from Portland, but far enough to get away. It was a pretty last minute plan, so we didn't bring much other than some blankets and a rack of beer my brother bought us. After school on a Friday, we headed out once we got there, and found a cleared out area where we could easily park our car in. At first we made a fire and drank a few beers around it, but quickly got a little bored and decided we'd go for a midnight swim. The area we parked in wasn't near the actual trail of the lake, but it was only about half a mile away, and we knew what direction to go in. My 3 friends and I were pretty
Been a long
buzzed,
time
as we
since
were
I
somewhat
swam
lightweights at that age, and decided to head out into the forest towards where we thought the lake was. This was back in the 80s, so we didn't have cell phones with maps on them to double check this. We trudged through the forest, very sure that we were going the right way. I think it had been about 15 minutes since we left our campsite, and suddenly the air around us changed. It was a warm, almost summer night, and was probably around 70 degrees, but as we kept walking, it felt like it was getting colder and colder. Suddenly, I felt the hair on my body stick straight up, and
Supernatural
all 4 of
bullshit.
us quickly turned around and ran as fast as we could back to the campsite. We didn't talk, not even a word muttered to each other to turn back around. I've never ran that fast in my life. As bad as it sounds, my mindset in that moment was just that I couldn't be the slowest one, and I didn't want my life ending that night. I can't explain why, but at that exact moment, we all had the same fight or flight moment and decided we had to run for our lives without even talking to each other. I remember feeling as if there was a presence behind me, not even thinking it was a person, but just something that wanted to harm us. We bolted back to the car, I put the key in and unlocked it, and we all hopped in and drove straight home. We left the fire burning at the campsite, and all the clothes and blankets we brought with us were left there as well. The car ride home was completely silent. We got back to my house, my friends got in their cars and left. We have never talked about that night since. A few weeks later it was finally summer. My family went on yearly camping trips with a few other families that were close to us. One night, as a group of about 20 of us were sitting by the fire telling stories and just talking about life in general, one of the husbands of one of the families we went with brought up a weird hike they had gone on recently. He explained that he and his wife, along with a few of their friends, decided to go hiking on a Saturday. When they arrived, they were surprised to see that no one else was there. It was a known hiking spot, so they figured it would be pretty busy on a Saturday. The group of them hiked up the trail, and soon got to the top that was a cliff looking over a lake. When they got to the top, he felt as if he had no voice. The group of them quickly turned around and began to hike back down, walking much faster than normal. They didn't talk, just all apparently decided they didn't want to stay and even look at the view or anything that normal hikers would. They had lunches packed to eat at the top, and he had talked about getting some pictures too. Instead, they all hurried down the trail, still not talking, and the guy had a gut feeling just to get out of there. None of them talked on the way home, and no one brought it back up since. I asked where the hike was, never mentioned that I had a similar experience, and he said Small Fry Lake. That honestly scared the crap out of me, as I had just that same experience. I didn't want to say anything though, because my parents were visibly concerned, and I didn't want them to tell me that I couldn't go out like that again. This might not be the scariest story, but I'm curious to know if anyone else has been to this area and had a similar experience. When talking to him and his wife, they both said they had a gut feeling they were living the last few seconds of their life. The man said he started to see his life flash before his eyes as he hurried down the trail. I don't know what is going on at that lake and what made us feel that way, but there's definitely something up. I had never believed in the paranormal or ghosts, but after this, I feel as though that's what we encountered. All I know is that I'll never be going back there again.
Yeah, it was just
This
more
may not be the
unsettling
scariest
and
story,
spooky.
but it's something that has caused me much regret and still haunts me to this day. I grew up in a relatively small town in Western Australia, so everyone knew everyone. Ever since I was a kid, I've always been shy and struggled to make friends. So my parents would take me to social events all the time in an effort to get me to mingle with more people my age.
Try to force your kid
One of
to
my
do
favorite
shit.
events was one where all the children would learn how to dance over the course of a week. On Friday afternoons, we would put on a little concert for our parents and show off our new moves. It was at this event that I met this girl named Amelia. We ended up becoming close friends for a very long time. We graduated high school together and made plans to travel around Australia before we both went off to university. A few days before we were set to leave, we went out to a local pub for dinner and just enjoyed the evening and the wonderful weather. When we got to the car, I realized that we had forgotten our to-go containers with our leftovers, so I sent Amelia back inside while I warmed up the car. Amelia argued with me and complained that she was too tired and didn't want to bother going back inside to get our meals, but I insisted and told her to stop being childish.
What?
About a minute after Amelia went back inside, there was a burst of loud noises which I instantly recognized as gunshots. Freaking out and utterly consumed by fear, I called the police immediately and locked my car doors. I then laid flat on my back seat. The police arrived not long afterward, and most of what happened after that is a blur, except for one thing. A police officer who was interviewing me asked me if I knew anyone inside. Because of all the commotion, I had completely forgotten that Amelia was in there, and that's when I realized she was gone. It turns out that a man with many severe mental issues had gone into the pub earlier that week and had eaten food that he wasn't happy with. So that night he went back to shoot the staff members, and instead, he just ended up shooting everyone in sight. A few days later, I got a call from Amelia's mother, and she screamed at me, telling me that it was all my fault that her daughter was dead, and that I would pay for this.
Fuck you,
Something
bitch.
along those lines. I actively tried to block out those memories. For weeks afterwards, I was distraught and refused to leave my house. I was interviewed by the police again, and gave my final statement the day before Amelia's funeral. Of course, I wasn't sent a personal invite, but the event was in the newspaper, so my family and I all went along. Despite what her parents thought about me, I wanted to pay my respects to my dear friend. At the wake, Amelia's parents absolutely refused to look at me
How
or
is that
even
his
talk to
fault?
me,
So
and
because-
several times I overheard Amelia's mother calling me horrible names and blaming the entire event on me. This all happened 5 years ago, and I still can't bring myself to go anywhere near Amelia's old home. I've been seeing a therapist to try and overcome my own internal issues. One thing that constantly plagues my mind is that it could have been me inside that pub that night. And most days, I wish it was me.
That bitch, that's fucked up. blame him.
Hey guys, Uncle Unit here. I want to address the viewer who submitted that last story directly. First off, I'm truly sorry about what happened to your friend, and everyone else who lost their lives that night. It's very unfortunate that your friend's parents said a bunch of nasty things about you. The sad truth is that sometimes people grieve by blaming others and trying to tear them down, because inside they're feeling a lot of pain because they lost somebody close to them. I hope they realize one day that they were wrong to accuse you,
Yeah, but
and maybe one day you can reconcile with
they
them,
don't,
because it's
still
definitely
an
not your
asshole.
fault. You had absolutely no way of knowing that a madman was going to storm into that place and kill everyone inside. Losing a friend is always a very painful and emotional event, but living your life consumed by crushing guilt and blaming yourself for what happened is not going to bring them back, and it can cause a lot of self-destructive behavior. Trust me, I've been there myself, and I really do wish you the best of luck moving forward. I want to give a big thanks to that creepypasta guy for joining me in today's video. If you enjoyed his narration, you can check out his channel in the description of this video. A lot of you guys seem to be enjoying the Based on True Events videos, and you can help me keep this series going by submitting your own story to the email that you see on screen now. I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, I'm your Uncle Unit, and as always, never forget. There's always a reason to be afraid.
I like the way he actually addressed that at the end. Yeah, most friends like to get shot or just die of natural causes. Fucks with you. Like, why wasn't it me and stuff like that? But you can't live with guilt in your heart like that forever. That'll tear you down. But that mom was still a bitch for that, like blaming him and like even at times. I mean, I imagine only like a week or two probably went by. Probably not even that much. Like a week, probably went by before they had the funeral. But she like, I'm blaming you. Like, I've been like, I'm grieving too, bitch. Stop being selfish. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed my reaction one. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you did. If you did not, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe, share, comment, and I'll see y'all next video. Peace.